Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Chat with the Artist on Tales from the Sound Chat podcast. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dave. This week, we're joined by the former vocalist of the now ever-popular band Currents, as well as the owner and founder of Forgotten Youth Supply Company.
Welcome, Patrizio Arpaia. How you doing, dude?
That was beautiful. Just a heads up, man. That was fucking gorgeous.
That was literally the best attempt in probably my 35, almost 36 years on this planet. Worth it.
Yes, dude. I'm grateful to hear it. Thank you, dude. I'm happy to be here, and thank you, y'all, for having me on this beautiful show.
We're excited to have you on. I'm glad you were pumped to come on. First and foremost, man, thanks for giving us a little bit of your time. We're stoked, and all the stuff you've done is super cool. To watch it grow from you starting it and then to where it is now is pretty tight.
Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. Yeah, because you've been around since the beginning. Honestly, I was looking back on our Facebook messages, and I was like, damn, 2015. That's literally a year in. So it's I really appreciate you sticking around for this long and supporting the brand, and now bringing me on here just to talk about what's going on and the journey that's brought me to where we're at now.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. We always do a shotgun question. I don't really have one at the moment. Dan, do you have a rando blast?
Yeah. This one's I feel like unique, considering like you're more into like clothing branding and stuff like that. But what was like for me when I was a kid, like there were a lot of skate brands that I would just gravitate towards. Like, what was like the first like logo or like kind of brand that like made you gravitate towards it?
Oh, I remember when I was a young middle schooler, just starting to surf, just like going down to the shore every year, like every summer with my family, just learning to surf when I was like 10. I remember in PacSun at the mall, there was this brand called Hawaiian Surf Company, and it was like this crazy, trippy logo that really caught my eye back in the day. And I love the iconography and whole lifestyle of like 70s surfing. And that's where
absolutely.
So I feel like gravitating towards that. Honestly, just surf brands in general were my main inspiration back in the day. Then it slowly moved into skating. But for skating also, I'd say Audio is definitely
hell yeah,
a sick ass brand. That A, the little cursive A was always fucking sick. I love that on the shoe.
Yeah, I was always a big fan of like the little blind Reaper. I loved that little dude.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like the Alien Workshop logo with the three just like grays. So awesome.
Iconic. and they're still killing it.
It's awesome to still see them around, honestly.
Totally. Yeah, they have their whole umbrella company, dude. They got a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they still have the Alien Workshop logo is still the same. Nothing's changed. You could still buy the same stuff.
Same with Blind.
Yeah, actually, Alien. It's just funny because I'm a big nerd into what different companies are coming up and how they're connected to larger companies. And what I really appreciate about Alien Workshop in particular is that they have a brand called Dark Room, and it's just like a purple label for Alien Workshop where they just have a lot of fun and like much more. I'd say, like, Dave, you'd appreciate this, like esoteric shit and like more conspiracy stuff. Like they kind of go a little bit more buck nutty on that end. So they really branching their arms nicely.
That's pretty cool.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since you and I even interacted. It's been years.
It's been a long minute, yeah.
But what was the first band you were in, and were you on vocals in that band, or did you ever play? Do you play any other instrument?
Yeah, before even starting music, officially, the first band that I was in was called Climb the Sky. Actually, it was a band that started in high school, later on in high school. And I was on vocals for that. It was funny when it originally started. My buddy Eddie Raymond, that we're still very tight to this day, him and I were the original vocalists, and it got to a point where I think him went to another band, and then I came on vocals. But it was a I was took a minute for me to catch my stride, if I'm being honest. So
I
that was a
mean,
nice little,
yeah.
yeah, it was a good time. But before that, I was trained in piano, classically trained for a minute, and then I went to school in Bridgeport, trombone line called RCA in high
Mhm.
school, and just did a lot of jazz and blues, and that stuff really, as much as it resonates with me today, that's mainly what I listen to. Back in the day, I did not give a shit about it, and I just wanted to learn how to play like keys and Devil Wears Prada or some band like that. So that was the
Nice,
inspiration for the
nice.
first band, and we actually covered the Devil Wears Prada in like our Battle of the Bands my senior year. So it was more like that era was definitely synth metalcore bands, and
Mhm.
I had my little microKORG and did vocals for a while,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
the old, crabcore era.
of course, dude, it's a stamp in history at this point.
For sure.
It's got to come back at some point, right?
Oh, it'll
Like,
come back
It's on
around
its way.
if new metal is on the way back, like, to give it time. Give it another
what
5 years.
what do we
Totally.
call these new bands that are coming out? Like bands that are like parody metal. Like, is that what you'd call it? Bands that are
What, like
completely,
Steel Panther or something like that?
Mm.
for example, like the band 86, all they do is talk about back of house restaurant stuff. And I've seen a video of these guys. I want them on the show. I'll eventually message them if anybody hears this and knows them. Let them know. But I saw a video of them on stage, like making grilled cheese sandwiches. But
Oh,
they're
I saw that video.
yeah, that's that band 86, bro.
Ah.
Like,
That's great.
I was like, anyone in service would get what the fuck they're doing right now because it's so funny. It's just
Yeah,
so
for real.
good.
it's hilarious because all they're doing is slamming front of house. It's so funny. But it's such a good band, and their shows, these guys are selling out. It's like that band Silly Goose,
Yeah.
that
Silly Goose.
exploded.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, they did a couple shows in like a Subway and a 7-Eleven and blew the hell up, and then
Then they also played in a Waffle House. If you've ever
yeah,
been in a Waffle House, you know how awkward and oblong that
yeah,
space is. Normally there's like nowhere, so it's just like, band, how do I get food? Fuck you.
it's funny. It's so funny.
This is so good.
So
I stumbled on their page before, and like
yeah,
they market themselves really well, honestly.
yeah,
For a band
Absolutely.
like just doing that
Mhm.
shit,
there
really smart.
there's some really cool bands that are coming out in that aspect that are extremely creative, but it's like the easiest thought process. They're like, dude, let's play shows at a 7-Eleven and see what happens. Let's set up on top of a bus station, you know, and
Yeah,
until the cops come,
Yes.
we'll
Absolutely,
play.
yes.
It's the best way to get noticed, I think, in this day and age, is to do something fringe like that.
totally. I feel like every generation has their own aspect of how to like grab people's attention. Like back in the day, it was like a satanic panic. Like who can be the most fucking satanic in their band to get the craziest imagery, to get the most like opposition that would gain more notoriety and more, just more traction. Like if you can get people's attention by doing some crazy shit these days, then you're pretty much hook, line, sinker at that point.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, that sounds about right. It makes me think of like that Mayhem album cover from back in the day, the
Yeah.
bootleg. Like
Mhm.
like, as fucked up as that whole thing is, it's just like, okay, they went to the ultimate extreme.
Oh yeah. All the way. And it's so like just niche, and
Yeah.
people are just, it's crazy.
Well, speaking about ways that we used to do things, I want to go back 2010, 2013, in that whole area. We used to have to do stuff MySpace, and I guess Facebook was still not really in its infancy, but kind of in that light. I was going back at some old posts, and I was screenshotting them to Dan, and there were some old shows that were done, like Tuxedo Junction shows, but it
Mhm.
was like Cursed by Reason, and then
Mm.
we came with Plague. So I wanted to talk about that, and then into the transition, because because you guys Currents pretty much morphed into that. It was just with
Totally.
Jeff, and wanted to kind of hear how that transition happened. We were on the sidelines. We were playing shows with you guys pretty much with Forsaken towards the end. Well, I might not have been around the end of 2010, but we were around doing that stuff. I remember playing some of these shows at like Tuxedo Junction and Amity Teen Center and places like that in Connecticut. So
Right. Yeah. No, actually, how it started was I was the original vocalist for just Currents. So when they disbanded with the vocalist before, they were essentially doing like low key tryouts with a few people. And I was at the time, I think I was a freshman because all the original members of We Came with Plague were all going to be in a band together, but they didn't want to continue with that name. Yeah, so essentially I was going to WestCon with Mitch. Mitch was one of the original guitarists, and at the time we were playing Climb the Sky and We Came with Plague. We're playing shows together in New Milford, Tuxedo Junction. I don't know if we played a couple of times at Heirloom, and we were doing our rounds. And then we also played the Newtown Battle of the Bands at the high school. So that's really what set it off. I was really connected with a bunch of kids in Newtown. And I just sent in, I was doing a vocal cover or my own tryout. I wrote lyrics to a song. A lot of people think that Annalise is the first, or like one of the songs off Victimize is one of the first Current songs, but it's my vocal tryout to Current. It's called King of Catastrophe. I don't even know where, honestly, you can find it. But yeah, that was my vocal tryout. I sent it in, and then things started moving, and then we officially came to be Currents. I'm pretty sure they came up with the name before I joined, but I was down with the cause, and ready to go. And I think, yeah, that was freshman year of college in 2011, and then I was in the band until 2015, I believe.
I remember a lot of times, especially when we played with Jeff, I remember Cameron messing with Jeff live a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like getting up behind him and like poking him with drumsticks.
I have memories of this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Or spraying him with water or something like that, or making some weird face from across like the stage and just staring at him. It was always Jeff. But Jeff is like just like Cameron. They have so much drive, like.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's what made it happen, and until he left, there was so much determination.
Yeah,
they were very similar.
Every business aspect when it comes to like what's best for the band, when it comes to making like those integral connections with whether it be management or labels, especially at the end of my time in the band. I know Jeff was really full front on making sure that the band is able to go to the next level, and they were making it happen. So it was definitely a lot of respect to Jeff for putting that together and making it happen, because I don't think without him the band would be where they're at today, for sure.
Yeah, because it shot up pretty fast.
Yeah, when I was ready, things were already in motion when I was already getting ready to leave. So it was very much behind the scenes for a minute. Essentially, once I feel like the EP dropped, when Life Lost dropped, there was already conversations happening. And yeah, I think Life Lost was around for a year, and then I think I left, if I remember correctly.
That's pretty cool, though. You got to a point, and it's a super cool accomplishment. Not a lot of people get to do stuff like that. And during that time, though, with some of the shows that you played, no matter which band you were in, do you have any specific moments you remember? Something that was really weird, something that was super crazy, something that's just stuck in your mind?
Oh yeah, there are a few. I was actually thinking what would be the best thing if you want, like when it comes to, I'd say something as you were saying, like being in the band in the time frame that I was in, everything that happened within those 5 years was a huge accomplishment. Like I left so fulfilled. Like there was really nothing that I didn't achieve with that band. I wasn't really in it to be in music full time. It was really just creative expression at that point. So, in regards to that, just like playing specific shows, Warped Tour was sick. Warped Tour was a great experience. Honestly, my biggest bucket list. And to play it the second time after releasing Life Lost, that shit was crazy. However, what many people I feel don't know is Sleep Paralysis. That song is a real story, and what happened near like the end of me writing lyrically the EP, I was followed by like spirits. I've always had like a deep intuition to different things around me, and I was very much tormented, like to the point where I would experience sleep paralysis, but in a deeper way. So it got to the point where there was this one on tour sometimes, like while I was sleeping, there would be like experiences where I'd be locked and I'd hear like just cackling and just shit calling my name. Very, very like, yeah, I've never talked about it publicly, honestly. So I like wrote the lyrics and was just like, let's see what people think. And whoever knows me personally, like knows the story, but it's like, it, I've had outside of the one particular moment that triggered the whole inspiration behind that one song, like I was followed by these experiences leading up to like a finale, you could say. And I never experienced that shit after that. It was a very spiritually liberating experience for myself. A lot of things changed actually after that specific moment that inspired me to write Sleep Paralysis is when I became inspired to do Forgotten Youth.
Wow.
So yeah, it's yeah, very synchronistic situations unfolding one after the other at that period of my life. It was very sick.
Yeah. Sorry, like when you were like pretty much laying all that out, I was just like shuddering for a second because well, I talked about this recently, but because I had an experience when I was in high school. When I did I've talked about this before. I did like this psychology project, and it was supposed to be on lucid dreaming. And in the midst of like everything, I ended up getting into a bout of sleep paralysis, and like it was wild, man. I dealt with that for probably about a month.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it's no easy feat.
it's fucked.
Yeah, no, it's definitely power to anyone who's able to get through that shit. And sorry you had to go through that because that shit, I
Oh
don't know like what
no, seriously, and that's more even the reason I'm even like saying anything is just like, dude, like I know how that is. I couldn't imagine being on like the road and that happening. Seriously, like glad you made it
yeah,
out
and no
the other
one knows
side of
about
that.
that. Thank you, dude. I
God damn.
appreciate that. Yeah, I was very quiet about that. I'm like,
I'm very
I get the
quiet
huge
about
ass.
my story too.
Yeah, right. It's a little nerve wracking, but the more
Yeah.
I feel like what inspired me to write that song is to see if other people were able to resonate, and they clearly did. Like I've had people come up to me who are just like I couldn't have felt more seen after listening to this song because I experienced this on a whether however basis, and to hear you say that as well, it's like just a
It's
confirmation to why.
reassuring that I'm not crazy.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, it's
definitely not crazy. That's the
definitely.
for if there's that many people that can resonate with just a song,
Yeah.
especially lyrically, and say like, oh, that explains something that I've dealt with. It could just be an emotion, but this was an actual experience that you had, that somebody else had, that probably hundreds of other kids that have listened to this song have had, and it resonates with them. So it's definitely a common thing. Having it happen on the road, it would probably be pretty frightening. I've never bus toured, but it'd probably be pretty frightening if you were like in a bunk and you
Oh
had some
yeah.
weird sleep paralysis thing and like a coffin sized, place of sleep. But I do have an
God.
old band member that did have an experience where somebody was like holding his head down, and it wasn't a band member because he said like the
Mhm.
fingers were super long,
Oh
and it was
God.
holding his hand, but they were in the middle of the desert in like New Mexico in the van, so like just on a
Dude,
van
no,
bench.
don't tell me that. That makes
What
me
the
think of the
fuck?
the
Yeah,
time Ark pulled over in New Mexico and we saw that weird fucking thing scurrying around and we're all just trying to take a piss.
yeah, dude, land of
Really?
enchantment.
Yeah,
Oh, for
man.
real, dude. There is some crazy shit happening out there. You experienced something like that, dude?
Oh, dude, it was fucked, man. So like I've told this story previously, but I'll go through it quick. So we just need to pull over for a pit stop. We're going through New Mexico and we stop in this really tiny spot that's like clearly like an abandoned old like area where a couple of people live. There was like a house, abandoned gas station, abandoned house, abandoned house. And so we all like picked areas and we all were all taking a piss. And then you just look out between these houses into the field. There's like one light, but it's constantly flickering near the actual side of the road. And then like looking out towards the middle of nowhere, there's nothing. And I just see this like thing go from like it looked like a coyote to just like standing up and walking. I was like, nope,
Nope.
let's get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Goodbye. Hit
And
the
I'm
gas.
I'm I'm a very small part Native American, and I believe in fucking skinwalkers and all that shit. So
Dogman,
yeah,
dude.
fuck that.
So cool. I mean, that's scary as fuck, but like just the idea of that shit happening out there is just fascinates me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that there's something really odd happening in that part of the country. That is for sure.
It's
Totally.
the
But
desolation, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's
We just got into some shit.
yeah, we're going deep. I think honestly, just to sidetrack real quick, I think it's so cool that we've all had separate experiences and collective experiences as our like literally in our youth, like our fucking teens, late teens, 20s, like just playing shows together, and now like being able to come together like easily like 10 years later to just have a discussion about these times and shit. Like it's crazy to think that I remember playing with Ark in at Tuxedo Junction and like just being like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy. Like y'all used to bring the fucking noise back in the day, honestly.
I
When we were in
appreciate it,
Climb the
man. They
Sky,
were
we would look up
fun.
to that. Yeah, good days, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember climbing the
Those
sky.
local shows were something else. It's hard to
Really
even
were.
explain anymore because it's just like I don't know. I know there's still like a thriving scene in Connecticut. I just don't know what it looks like anymore because I'm so far removed from it.
Totally. I feel the same way.
When you look at it, what are the big bands that are like major label bands out of Connecticut that are still actually playing? What Hatebreed's one of
Hatebreed.
them. Yeah. What Death Threat? Like so, but what that's it. Other than
Uh,
Currents, so like Currents
Yeah.
is the biggest metalcore band out of Connecticut. Like if you're thinking Connecticut now, that's the
yeah,
band.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
so that's cool. That's like what you're saying, Patrizio. That's so cool that we could talk about it, but we also can look at it now and be like, dude, one of us got out completely,
yeah,
got out of it, started
Mm.
from the bottom, using minivans and 5 different cars to get your shit to a show, and not even having merch to headlining tour they just finished. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, totally. I'm grateful to have been a part of that journey, honestly. It's so cool because I mean, they released a new record, I guess, not too long ago,
yeah,
and
pretty
I still
recently.
Mason, the in-house designer for Forgotten Youth, who did like life lost artwork and everything. Like I've been working with him since I was still in Currents. He did most of the merch for Currents too. We came before I left. We came up with that logo. It's like the crescent moon
With the
with the
skull,
with the skull and the 3 teardrops and shit.
it's
Like,
such an iconic logo.
Yeah, it
and
is.
I always forget about it, and then I'll see, and I'm like, oh shit, that's actually fucking crazy. People have that shit tattooed on them. And I'm like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
that brand is very like that's cemented in my head. To be honest, I saw it so much.
Yeah, I saw
Hmm.
a few of them, few people wearing them uh, at that When We Were Young festival last
Oh,
year,
interesting.
and then I saw one dude wearing a Current shirt at August Burns Red's 20th anniversary tour not too long ago. So it was interesting to see that. It's like there's one time where I was not in Connecticut and I was outside in a different city and I saw some dude wearing a Forsaken the Sky shirt and I was like, holy shit, like you're actually wearing my band
What?
stuff. Like that was wild. But to see, I mean, it's so big now.
Yeah.
Even to that regard, like I work at a music store, right? So I sell like instruments, gear, whatever. And I work with a couple younger guys, and like they're well aware and have been aware of currents for a while. And these guys are like, like early mid 20s. It's wild.
Yeah, and I wonder how many of them actually have didn't like, because there's so much material since Life Lost that
Hmm.
I wonder how many people go back to even then and know the band from then, because I feel like the
The
band is so
diehards do.
solidified. Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just crazy to think about how much how much is in their discography right now.
Yeah,
Pretty insane.
it's impressive.
I mean, Chris is a fucking powerhouse, dude. He is.
Hmm.
Watching him from being in his parents' basement with like just working on one computer in the corner of the basement, just recording different local bands and then doing all of our pre-production, to what he's doing now. I mean, I haven't talked to them in a long time, but from what I remember, he's just been doing an amazing job on the recording front, production front, and then Currents and Shadow of Intent. So it's just a entrepreneurial spirit that I respect.
Yeah, absolutely. That DIY attitude will never die.
No, and that's, I feel, what people want the most. Honestly, it's like just an authentic DIY approach to someone's creative craft, and I feel like
Absolutely.
they do that well.
Metal music was never supposed to be mainstream. DIY is punk rock, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, that comes from the punk hardcore scene for sure, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. There's something to be said about how corporatized the. Well, I mean, obviously the music industry has always been very corporatized, but more so on the front of like the availability of venues. Like a lot of them, it's not like you can get local acts on a lot of these places anymore. So when I hear about like Toad's Place still being around, the Webster, the Palladium, like there's tons of venues up in the Northeast that still like give local acts like a decent shot. But like down here, there's nowhere to play. I live in Delaware. There is nowhere to play.
damn. I bet you have to go out of state to actually find a
Yeah, I
decent
just
show.
played an
But
open mic last night with some guys I've been jamming with, and we had to drive an hour away to Stevensville, like where the PRS factory is.
Oh, how was that?
It was good. Yeah, yeah.
Nice,
I played a
nice.
couple of originals, covered Chop Suey, and then we jokingly ended the night playing Fallout Boy.
Hey,
oh hell yeah,
you guys had fun, right?
Yeah, no, it was a good time.
Good.
I got an interesting question for you, dude. So I know for me, after Arc kind of like settled down and everything, like the transition was not easy for me going from like that lifestyle, doing it for so many years and trying to be a married dude and be a normal person. Did you have a struggle like from transitioning to music to what you're doing with Forgotten Youth, or was it a very like I don't know natural progression for you?
I'll tell you, I didn't experience that until I was living in the city, because I was doing Forgotten Youth for a year before I left Currents to pursue
Hmm.
it. Um, it got to the point where it was one or the other, and with management and all that stuff coming into the mix, it was becoming a little difficult to allow those kinds of things to happen naturally. And
Hmm.
it was either, I honestly did not see myself, if I'm being completely real, I'd never really wanted to pursue music in a way where I had to listen to a label or management. I was very much like fuck the big man, and
Yeah,
I kept
for
that
sure.
mentality when they were looking to sign. And I don't think it was essentially just me against what everyone else wanted. And at the end of the day, I knew that my heart wasn't in the band as much as it was into Forgotten Youth, because it was my, it was my baby at the point. Like it wasn't meant to be something as it is today. Um, but I knew that I had to pursue that aspect of my life moving forward because I already felt like I achieved everything that I wanted, and I'd only be holding the band back by staying in, you know. But in regards to that transition, I essentially just ran Forgotten Youth as a one man band, and it was pretty easy for me to be traveling at that time. I was single, just really focusing straight on the brand and everything that really encompassed the ideology, the aesthetic, the lifestyle. It was really travel based and heavy graphic based, and just really getting out there with friends. So essentially, we would go on these lookbook trips every other season, and we'd essentially just treat it like tour, like Mike Magus from the Manners, and then Colin Sullivan from the Guru, and Eddie Raymond. Like,
My brother's really good friends with Colin.
oh, word?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. That's what's up. Yeah, he's my fucking brother, and they've been a part of FY. It's like my family for since the literal beginning. So we'd all go on these trips, and you know, been working with the same photographer now, Adam Parabis, and we're all friends. We're all good friends. So we treat these trips like we'd be on tour. Most of us have experience being on tour. We all come from music. We've all been in bands. We all know how it is being on the road. And it's all about how you connect with the people and how well you're able to get through situations together, you know? So it's like we just treated it as if we were on the road touring, but not playing music. So the transition that at that point was pretty smooth. But when things started getting real and I was like, damn, like I live in the city and I'm kind of just stuck. Can't really travel that much. Things are a little more expensive. Really just started focusing more on the internal aspects of the brand at that point. I was having fun and laying down the foundations to really start thinking about future moves. And when I moved to New York, I think I've been here for a minute. I think the brand was 2 years old. So from that point now, it's just been all about, you know, I'm getting married soon. I've recently just got engaged. So like my whole frame of reference and how I perceived my path moving forward has changed drastically, and it's taken a few years to really grab it by the balls and be like, all right, how am I going to move forward? So I say like the transition really happened once I stopped acting like FY was a music act and really taking it more business serious. You know, at
Sure.
that point it was tough because then I'm like, fuck, I'm not. I'm like a businessman now. Like I didn't go to school for business. Like, all right, like now I have to buckle down and start putting on my big boy pants. But I feel like now I'm at a point where I'm getting back to that adventurous spirit and have the security and stability to be able to go out on trips and start planning more stuff. So that lifestyle is definitely coming back into my life, thankfully.
That's awesome, man. Honestly, like when I was a kid, I had a really awesome childhood. My dad was in the army, so I actually lived in Germany for about 8 years. And that was a really, really special time of my life. So, any excuse to travel, experience, life in the real world, just fucking do it. Life's too
Totally.
fucking short, man.
And that, at the end of the day, is the essence of why I started the brand and just
Hmm.
experiencing things. I was grateful enough as a child to, I'm the son of immigrants. So, like, my dad came here on a boat from Italy when he was in his late teens, and we go back to Naples. Like, we used to go back there like every year, if not every other year as a kid. And then I'd go in high school during the summer by myself and stay at my aunt's house. So, it's like I'm grateful to have that deep of a connection to my heritage. And I do my best to reflect some ounce of that within my work with Forgotten Youth. Um, not so much right now, but that's my main focus moving forward is really bringing in the things that inspires my youth and what I experienced as a child, and bringing that culture into the mix and inspiring other people to experience that essence of culture, whether it's mine, yours, someone else's. Like just attaching yourself to something that's bigger than the phone in front of you, you know?
That's so awesome, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
dude.
Fuck.
some of the trips that you've done in the past too, like that. What is it? Did you guys do like an Iceland trip where you did like a line? Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, dude. Some of the shots you guys got, it was uh, that's so cool. I was like, yo, these guys are literally just going here to do a bunch of business stuff and take photos of the merchandise that and the brand that they're selling. Like it's and then you're going from stop to stop to do that. So yeah, it must feel like a tour. So it's such an interesting that you
Hmm.
said
Yeah.
that the transition was later than like right off the clip because music was just not there anymore.
Oh yeah. No, it was a delayed reaction for sure. It's when life really started becoming real, and I started becoming more of an adult later in my 20s, where I find the woman of my dreams. I'm just really pursuing building that life, and my life is more than just me, and it's expanding my reality to a point where I'm able to see everything as it is, and how can I let this grow organically, authentically, and something that could be able to stay uh, offer stability to the life that I'm envisioning moving forward. So it's like traveling and all that stuff was amazing, and having those trips and shit. But now it's more intimate. Like my fiance and I go out on trips often, and I incorporate that into Forgotten Youth in ways as well. And it's I'm able to now find aspects that I could live more day to day instead of doing some grandiose trip like Iceland. Like there's a lot of things locally as well that are worth um, shedding light on, that are amazing places to visit and explore, and still be a great backdrop for a lookbook for like a summer collection, spring collection. Um, One thing that I'm really interested in is a lot of ancient ruins that are in the Northeast, in specific the Hudson Valley.
Hmm.
So I go out and we'll go on these hikes to different stone chambers, and just on those hikes there's just crazy shit to shoot, and it's very much falls in line with the ideology of the brand and the aesthetic visually of the brand. Just nature, holistic living, holistic mindset, really the perspective of the reality that you experience is a reflection of what is external of you. So I'm doing my best now to incorporate all these things together, starting small and then slowly expanding. And it's funny because everything that I've learned that I'm expressing to you today came from music. Like when you're a band, you're starting out local, like you really want to dominate your
Hmm.
area, your zip code. Like you really want to make sure that you're in the biggest tent. Like for us, it's Danbury or New Haven, or maybe a little outside of New Haven. But like in Danbury was always you want to be at fucking Heirloom or Tuxedos, or you want to be at the Max in New Milford, because all the
Hmm.
people would go out there. You try to get the support of all the people in that area, and then you expand a little bit. You go into Westchester County, or you go to Poughkeepsie. And that's exactly what Currents did. I took advice from people like, I won't forget this. The dude that passed away, I believe his name was Diego in Volumes, told me that, gave me that
Mm.
advice. And he was just like, just start local and go to the next state and go to the next state, and then figure out your way from there. And yeah, that's exactly the mentality that I still keep to this day, honestly.
It's a grind. You gotta
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
like you said, you've rattled off a few of those places like the Max and Tuxedo Junction, and you can dominate those kind of regions, especially of just such a small state that Connecticut was. And then you get to a point where those people that go to the Max and Heirloom Arts Theater would actually travel all the way up to Hartford to the Webster to see you now. And then that circle gets larger and larger. And then if you go play the Worcester Palladium or Holyoke Waterfront, I don't even know if it's even still there, but places like that, then all of a sudden you got people from Hartford and Waterbury that'll actually travel that far. So you're getting that the bubble's expanding, and yeah, it's the way we did it. Oh, we got a show 7 hours into upstate New York and a show on the way back. Like,
Hmm.
grind it, just do it, even if it's a 2 or 3 day run. Any exposure and all the work you put in, you know, for the most part, it comes back at you. You just got to keep going. And dudes like that, and then dudes like yourself, they're doing a whole different thing. It it shows. I wanted to ask. You mentioned a little bit earlier that kind of the ideas for Forgotten Youth came from that experience we were talking about. Was that the only thing that sparked or is it the only thing that made you envision the brand what it is, or were there other factors that made you start becoming an entrepreneur? And did you quit your day job right off the clip?
I actually, funny enough, I've never quit a day job. I still have a day job actually. So like I had to, I lost my job from COVID, and me being a little naive, that's essentially when things started becoming a reality for me. It was essentially the year before COVID when I really came into myself, and Mason and I like went out into the Catskills for a weekend on a vision quest. We ate a bunch of mushrooms and had no service, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. Just tripped in the woods and just came to the concept that's now our icon, like the blooming rose. And I essentially at that point realized that I needed to create a really firm foundation to build on this temple that I see FY being, just like really made out of granite, beautiful, robust, and very radiant. And what really inspired me at the end of the day was doing all the merch and conceptual stuff for Currents. So outside of like the sleep paralysis experience, it wasn't necessarily that inspired me to do Forgotten Youth. It really opened up a pathway for me to see a vision greater than me being in Currents, because I was at that point, I was going through so much psychological turmoil. Like you can tell by my lyrics, like things, I was incredibly suicidal and depressed, like just going through a ton of shit. And music was my outlet to create that healthy balance. I mean, like, we all write some crazy shit back in the day when we're really feeling emotional. However, like,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's to me at the core, music is my way of expressing my emotions. And that's honestly, without music I wouldn't be here, and I attribute all of that to me having the confidence to, no matter how vulnerable it may get, to express how I feel on pen and paper. And that was a huge release for me. Um, and being able to learn how to market the band at such a young age really inspired me to realize that, oh shit, like I need to find a sustainable income if I'm going to be in a band. I'm not going to drop my degree in college to just finish in 4 years. So I just got like a bachelor's in biology instead of the full biology degree. I was like one class shy away, but I was like, I'm not going to school for another year because you need me to take a couple more classes. Like I essentially have a degree. So I was like, I want to pursue what I want. I didn't go to college for what I wanted to do. It was mainly just for security and safety. And I wanted to pursue something creative. So at that point, I started Forgotten Youth. I was like, I'm going to start my own clothing brand. Like I come up with all the graphics for Currents anyway. I came up with the idea for the album artwork, and the initial conception of all those things came from, the lyrical concepts and all those things, and then shirt graphics. And I really created a relationship with screen printers. I've been working with the same screen printer that does everything. It's not even just a screen printer; it's a printing company, Legacy Printing. Jimmy is. I've been working with Jimmy since he was working in the back of I think one of the factories that his dad was working at was a sticker spot down in Jersey. And I remember on tour with Currents going to go see him and pick up Currents merch, and he still makes FY stuff. So like I always go down to his new facility and go pick up Forgotten Youth. So it's like I say the relationships that I've created have really helped me solidify that path to making the transition into Forgotten Youth. And yeah, I can honestly go on. I could ramble on about this stuff. This is the first conversation I've ever had outside of like close friends that I've talked to about this stuff. So I apologize if I go on ranting.
Hey
It's
man,
fun
we
to
try to.
recall these experiences.
It's all good, dude. We just try to keep it laid back, and we just have like a, just honest to God fucking conversation.
Yeah.
I
It's
love it.
there's a lot of, I don't know. I know that there's other podcasts that do a pretty good job of this thing, but I feel like our scene in particular, and like the time we were in bands and going to shows and stuff, was a really special time. just in like, even compared to now, I feel like it was just, I don't know. It was a really cool time, and just to see where you've been, all the peaks and valleys, and where you're at now, and just like this far in time from the last time we've actually talked to each other, it's like really fucking cool to come back to it and just be like, hey, we're all still here doing our fucking thing.
Yeah, dude, it's sick to still have that connection. I feel like when I saw this funny ass meme someone posted about being like, oh, I know that person from music university or like the music industry, because it's
Yeah.
like it's all like we all went to college together or some shit. You're at least
Yeah.
one person
Yeah.
away from knowing someone, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. The music scene was really small when you were in it.
So many
Oh
people.
yeah.
But yeah, you always knew one person. It's cool.
Even
Yeah.
now too, like I mean, I grew up with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with restraining order, but like there are actually, like, I'd say not necessarily in the metalcore realm in Connecticut.
Mm.
I'd say like Currents is definitely the heaviest hitter, but in like hardcore and like, I wouldn't even know what you would call Anxious if you've listened to that band before. They're I'd say like, I don't know if they're just like alternative punk, pop punk, but they're not your straight up pop punk, but they're blowing up, and they're from Darien, Connecticut.
Hell
So
yeah.
like,
That's
I
awesome.
think it's fucking crazy. And yeah, it's cool to see a new breath of life coming out of Connecticut that is definitely in hardcore. I'd say more in hardcore than anything. And shit's sick.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, dude.
It's cool to see it, because I had the pleasure of seeing one of my really close friends from high school. He was in Hostage Com. I knew all the guys in that band pretty much. I went to high school with half of them, and it really sucked when they broke up, because they were like, the last album they did was so fucking good. Like, they were gonna blow up, and then they just stopped.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah,
It's crazy. Yeah, they were a sick band. Same with, oh, I was gonna say With Honor.
it was just cool. It was just cool, like growing up in that time and just reflecting on all this is a
Mm-hmm.
trip.
Yeah, With Honor.
Yeah, with
Great
honor.
band.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck yeah.
Great band. It's
Life
yeah,
in
we
your
have
way.
we have a few guys that we're in the talks with that are from Connecticut that were in some pretty decent projects that should be on the show at some point soon. So we're pretty pumped. But dude, we're honored that this is the first time that you're talking about it, you know, without talking to your just close friends about it. That's pretty cool.
Dude, it was very serendipitous when you hit me up, honestly, because I've like often neglect the fact that I come from music publicly. I don't really showcase myself that much. It's not like, hey, I'm Patrizio Arpaia. I run Forgotten Youth. So check out my brand. It's not really like, I like to work behind the veil, and I'm realizing that me taking so much of my personality out of the mix for so long has really devoid me of aspects of fulfillment that I'm yearning. And I came to that realization like a week prior to you hitting me up. And I was like, damn, I feel like I should really open up about my journey and like where I come from, how I've gotten to where I'm at, the knowledge I've gained throughout my journey, and how, it's not necessarily, I feel like, when you look at someone who's running a brand for 9 years, you're like, oh, did you go to school for business? Did you do this? It's like, honestly, I don't know shit about business. I'm going through my business school years right now. And it's just all, what I appreciate the most about being an entrepreneur is that you learn on your own time, and you're driven by how determined you are to get something done and accomplished. Um, so yeah, man, I don't know. It's a crazy ride, and I'm grateful to have the platform to start speaking about it. I mean, like, I definitely am looking to. With that being said, I have been thinking about starting a podcast, not just for Forgotten Youth. Like, Forgotten Youth, I want to be an umbrella.
Yeah.
Um, But something that I can get into now, if you're down, like just talking about what's what the future is looking like for the brand at the moment. I feel like, just to give a little background, when I was explaining about that transition, it really hit. I came to the realization when I was in 2019, when COVID hit. COVID was fucked in the city. I was working in service. I was getting paid under the table, and then I got let go of my job. Couldn't collect unemployment for 2 years. Then got a job finally. So in those 2 years was like the darkest like shadow period of my life in a way where it's like you got to knuck up or get the fuck off the toilet, honestly, because it's either you figure out how you're going to create the life that you want, or you're going to sit in your shit and you're going to drown. And it was really a lot of finding myself as an adult. Like, I'm not sure if y'all are into astrology or anything of that shit, but I returned to Saturn when I was 27. That's when all that stuff happened. And now I'm 31, and I'm at the other end of that, where I've truly become the adult that I've wanted to see in myself as a kid. And that's something that I want to invoke to other people, where it's like, are you the person that you would have looked up to as a child? Because like, if that's not the case, then you got to change what's going on in your life to make that little kid within you inspired and have some light in his eyes. Because there's no point to living if you're not living up to that kid's, not expectations, but just fulfilling that dream. Because that is, at the end of the day, the importance of life for me, is to make sure that that kid is feeling seen and feeling fulfilled in whatever experience it's having. Um,
Yeah, that makes
but yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
man. That makes a
that's
lot of
why it
sense.
gets real
Yeah.
deep. It's and that's where, honestly, I feel uh, I'm moving towards now, is that when I start my own podcast, at the end of the day, it's really just a research and development aspect to the brand. I want people to really take a deeper dive into the mechanics of creating the brand. I want people to walk with me as I'm unveiling all these different things. This is a, I'm not going to call, I don't call myself a designer. I don't call myself, like, I guess I, I like the idea of founder or creative director. I don't really know, I don't give a shit about titles, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to know where you're planted in these kinds of situations, because I would really love for the brand to expand where I have people that are part of the family and I'm able to support them as well,
Hmm.
financially. So would love to have a team. So I have to have that mindset moving forward. At the end of the day, I think having different facets and avenues that the brand is affiliated with is the best thing to move forward. So in 2020 and 2021, I started really diving deep into the psyche of the brand and the ethos and the message, and just expanding deeper on the aspect of self-empowerment, imagination, adventure, exploration. A lot of the shit that we were doing, traveling to different places, like we've been to
Hmm.
Iceland that you mentioned, we've been to Spain, did a whole West Coast thing, drove out to Colorado a couple of times. Just done. We've been to Shadowluck in Italy. Like, I have a whole idea to expand on the whole Italian collection that reflects my family's hometown, and do like a whole collection based off of that, because there's like a ton of cool shit, like an abandoned castle, some Roman tombs, like really cool shit. So with that being said, I started a research and development page that is like directly connected to Forgotten Youth, but is in its own right, its own entity, and I use that as my blog and soon to be podcast. And it's called Order of the Blooming Rose. It's essentially the secret society to Forgotten Youth. And if you're interested to take a deep dive into what actually drives the brand's aesthetic and overall message, that's where you find the answers to it. Because I feel if you shove too much shit down people's throats, or put it too far, like too much in the limelight, it either goes over people's heads, or people are so not in alignment with what you're putting out there that they get disinterested. And so the past few years allowed me to go to the fullest extent of that. and then be able to recede back and figure out like the nice pocket. So allowing myself to dig deep and go down the rabbit hole, because a lot of the, like, even the rose itself, the blooming rose that I call the icon, like our logo, there's intention behind every aspect of that logo, even when you break it down to the dot. You know, it's a forever blooming rose. Like the dot in the center of the icon represents infinity. And
Mm.
I do go into that from time to time, but there are deeper reasons as to why that is even the case. So it's like, if people want to see those things behind the scenes kind of vibe, like that's where I'm putting a lot more of my focus and adding more of my personality and just freely talking about it, because your boy's been silent for a while, and I think I feel a lot, honestly, just feeling comfortable expressing it and just talking out loud about it, because I haven't been on behind a mic since then. So it's kind of been nerve wracking for me to be like, oh, I'm gonna talk about a past that I literally see as like a different lifetime ago.
Yeah.
It's just,
I hear that, man.
Yeah.
Like same here for me. Like after stuff ended with Arc, I'd gotten married. I had moved like back and forth between Tennessee and Connecticut. Now not married. That was my COVID years. Lots of fun.
mm,
Um, but like regardless of all the ups and downs, all of that stuff, at the core of all of it was the one thing that kept me sane, and that was music, my creative outlet, my only way of emotionally being vulnerable to people in an honest way.
oh yeah. And
Yeah.
if your connection to being able to express that is honestly vital,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful that you're able to still have that connection to music, because it will always be a part of us, no matter if we're not playing in bands anymore, you're just doing solo stuff or just listening to music. You know, I haven't played music or been a part of anything in almost, it'll be 10 years next year,
Yeah.
or maybe eight, I think 8 years, 8 or 9 years, but still, like, I think for the first time in a long time, I'm finally looking forward to writing music again, and
Yeah.
this time just on my own terms. I would love, honestly, I would love to start a fucking heavy band. That would be sick.
Everybody's doing it right now.
They really are. I
Yeah.
mean, I just got a mic, just like to start, doing my own shit, and I was like, damn, someone did hit me up about some cool shit. I'd potentially think about it, but it's been so long,
Yeah.
and plus, very particular with the music I'd like to make. Like, I love really dark and grimy shit. Have you ever heard of a band called Scalp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit like that, just like very chaotic, just like raw anger and frustration. That's what I love the most about, like, I don't know, like power violence or any like old school. I love bands nowadays that mock up like a disembodied sound, but more full and just, I don't know, just old school metalcore that I really love.
Yeah, that
Like
seems to
Vane
be
does a good job of that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That's I mean, there's something special about being in the room with other people that connect the same way with the same, entity. And it's the same with podcasting. It's the same with being a creative director for your own company. You're working with like-minded people that are there to help or a part of it, and it's the creativity that flows. So I think a lot of people that I know personally that were involved in music did okay during, the past couple crazy years, because they figured out that all of the experience they had, whether it was the marketing of merchandise or the production of a show or a tour, they all knew that if you do it yourself and work hard, that something can come out of something dark, like, and even on a smaller scale, like blowing a tire on the road, and you have to get to a show. That sucks, but it's not as bad as a 2-year shutdown.
Mhm.
But
In retrospect,
yeah, so
I'll take
it's
all the breakdowns, all the overheating, running out of gas.
pissing on your radiator to cool it off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, I know. It all those trials and tribulations like really build character and
Yeah.
allow you to get out of situations that, not many people are really fit to overcome, honestly. If you can survive being on the road with a couple dudes touring and shit, dude, oh my God. It's I feel like
Just the
I don't
smell.
know. I give so much respect. Yeah, just the smell
Just the
alone, dude.
smell.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
you're not showering. You're fucking. I remember we had to like. Oh, okay. Here's a funny upbeat fucking story from tour. I was a merch dude for my buddy's band back in the day, and we were touring through like Bumblefuck, Pennsylvania, and it was we were touring with a Christian band, I believe, and someone a part of um their church was living out there in the boonies, and they told us that we can crash in this barn, and this like I remember we just all slept on the floor. There were bats in the banisters. Like it was a cool ass night because we didn't fall asleep until like the last couple of hours, and then I just remember getting woken up by this crazy Amish farmer just like standing above me with his boots next to my eyes. He's like,
Bro.
"Y'all want breakfast?"
Oh,
Like, oh,
fair.
this is an experience I'm really never gonna get anywhere else. Like, what are the odds? It's just so fucking cool.
My 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 brother's moving back east from California within the next couple of weeks, and I agreed to help him drive. So I'm pretty pumped to drive 3,000
Oh,
miles across the country. I'm like got that. It's on shitty circumstances. He asked me to do it, and I was like, you know what, I kind of need that. It's been a long time, and I'm up for that. I'm up for that adventure.
you're gonna love it, dude.
I
Oh,
can't
that's
wait.
gonna be such a blast.
Yeah.
Are you guys going south or are you going north?
We're gonna go pretty much to Albuquerque and then shoot up to Denver.
Got you. Oh,
Um,
word. Okay,
and
cool.
then go straight across to like Chicago and then through Pittsburgh and whatnot, and wherever he ends up. But yeah, I've had some pretty weird run-ins staying in hotels and vans and stuff in like Arizona and New Mexico, and I'm not fucking doing it again. So
Nope.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
avoid
it
staying.
always does too, dude. Insane.
Yep,
Crazy
or
shit happens
just get
out there.
robbed in Texas.
Dude,
Yeah,
Watch out. The cartels will snatch you.
yeah, and your guitars.
oh my God.
uh, Patrizio, it's been rad talking to you. I'm stoked to actually hear about your podcast endeavor, and I can't wait to hear whenever it comes out. Before we let you go, let everybody know where to catch the brand. If you got any things coming out, a fall line coming up, winter line, let everybody know where they can
Hell yeah.
check it out.
Everyone can come check out the brand at forgottenyouth.co. If you just Google Forgotten Youth, it'll be the first thing that pops up. You just click on that link, check any wares and goods that we got available, and treat yourself. Um, yeah, and essentially we got Instagram. Been having some fun on Threads, which has been good. It feels like Instagram back when I first started the brand, so it's a lot more free flowing, and I don't know. My whole relationship with social media has been completely changed and very refreshing. So it's been nice to be coolly detached from everything going on. But in regards to news, I don't know when this will come out, but as of tomorrow, my summer collection will be officially released. Um, um, what's tomorrow? The 13th? Is it the 13th?
Tomorrow's
Today's
Tomorrow's
the
the
the 13th.
12th.
13th.
Yeah,
Looks like I'll
yeah.
probably have this out the 21st. Honestly,
Word, perfect. Yeah, so it'll be nice, freshly baked out the oven for about a week. So yeah, some people check it out. And then also for anyone wanting to look into the research and development behind the brand, it is Order of the Blooming Rose on Instagram. Just using that more so as my blog for right now, and then slowly developing. By the end of the summer, I'll have maybe an episode out. I'm working with. I'm actually doing a collaboration with my buddy Brandon at this podcast called Expanding Reality, and we're doing a little collab design together, and then doing an episode. So once that is out by the end of the summer, that is going to be my kickoff point to start working on the podcast front.
Very cool.
So
cool, man.
A lot of exciting stuff in the works.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Well, dude, we appreciate your time and chatting with us about a bunch of bullshit. Thanks for coming on, man.
Dude, thank you so much for both of you having me on. I'm grateful to live on some memories and share them with everyone. So I appreciate your time and letting me speak.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So happy to have you on. It's been a ton of fun. Seriously.
Yes, sir, boys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again for tuning in for another episode of Tales from the Soundcheck podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Tales from the Soundcheck podcast and listen on Spotify where you can follow and rate the show.
Don't forget to hit that little bell and subscribe to our YouTube channel for full episodes and future exclusive clips.
If you have any comments, want to chat with us on the show, or have your band featured, please DM us or email us at talesfromthesoundcheckpodcast@gmail.com.